right, go ahead.
You know what I saw in the store today?
What'd you see?
I saw pumpkin spice frosted flakes.
What?
True story. And all I could think was, they're basic.
I like pumpkin spice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's October. Pumpkin spices and everything.
I saw pumpkin spice Toll House, which I was kind of like, hey, I'd be down for that too.
Well, thank you once again for listening to RGCWV, where we talk about all kinds of geek culture. We talk about toys, we talk about video games, we talk about TV shows. So, with me tonight is Mike Mallow, as always, as
Yo.
my co host. And then Jason Smith as our.
Hello.
What kind of expert are you on the geek side?
Uh,
Film?
I would say more film.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. When we talk sometimes about gaming, my eyes kind of glass over as I'm looking at pictures around my house, going, "I need to really clean that." But yeah, I'd say film. That's what
Okay.
I speak of. Yeah.
And then also, we have Alex Mclean.
That's right. I think I would call myself an anime geek more than I would anything else.
Like a weeb?
So, that's such a charged word. But yes, I'm a huge weeb.
I call myself a weeb all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Kawaii desu ne.
Alex, what do you geek out about?
Geek out about. Power Rangers. I love the Power Rangers. I like anything Power Rangers.
Really?
Because I watched them when I was a kid, and just anytime I see something of that kind. Just recently I caught that new live action movie, and it was terrible. But as
it was terrible.
As a Power Rangers geek, nah, I loved every minute of it. Even if it was terrible, I like it anyway.
For me, I always geek out about early 90s, late 80s action figures. Whenever I go to like a vacation spot and I see like a comic and collectible store, I have to stop. We were in Rehoboth Beach, and there was like several different comics shops. One that was like kind of off to the side. They had all kinds of great comics and stuff. But this other collectible store, they had all of the Ninja Turtle figures. I was in there for like an hour and a half, and I didn't even realize what time it was.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to be talking about a few things. What are we going to be talking about, guys?
Doctor Who.
Do 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 do.
Yeah, have you guys seen the new episode?
We saw it last Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And
I actually didn't know this, but YouTube TV has BBC America. I was actually pretty excited. I am going to tag this as spoilers, so feel free to say whatever you want about the show.
all right. So first thing, when you start watching the episode, and if you've paid attention to the promos, there is 3 companions basically this season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start watching the episode, you realize, hey, there's 4 people along on this adventure with her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there was the mom. During the adventure,
But during the episode, you quickly kind of do some quick subtraction and realize that, hey, one of these people is not on the promotional material.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder what's going to happen to her.
Yes. In fact, me and Mike were making jokes before the end of the episode, going, I wonder what's going to happen to the grandmother here. Well, I have a feeling we're going to find out here in a second. So,
one thing I will say about her is I've noticed this trend in the last several seasons where it seems like the person who's like the most bold and the most brave is always the first person to get killed, which didn't used to be the message of that, but I guess maybe that is the more realistic message.
she's already a great character because she's brave, she's bold, and the other 3 are somewhat scared or somewhat, not sure what they're doing, or need a lot of character building to be done. So naturally they were staying, and this one is fine. It's a strong character, so hence she has to die. And it was just weird, I thought. And the other thing that it just occurred to me is the title of the episode could be referred to her as well, because she falls at the end, and you assume it's all about the doctor, but one can make the argument that she is the woman who falls, or how is.
I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, because they do that fake out at the beginning where you think that he's talking about the doctor on the YouTube channel, and it turns out in the end that it was her.
Yeah.
So I think that was absolutely intentional.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the. It's a slight Moffat-ish type of misdirect right there, because of course she's falling from the sky, because you saw the previous episode where she changed, of her Capaldi changed into her. So
I especially appreciated that it's new villains. It's stuff that's not a rehash of something old, which of course, I'm sure, and I'll be glad to see all of our classic Doctor Who villains come back, but we also need new things. And this, what was the Hunter? It's the Predator, right?
Basically,
yeah.
What was his name?
I just thought he was like the evil Tooth Fairy.
The evil Tooth Fairy is a totally new guy, and it's really cool looking. It's really intimidating. It's really scary.
I wish he had never taken off the mask. He was cooler with the mask on.
Well, I'll be honest. I took the mask off. I was immediately like, okay, first, and I hate to be that guy, but I was sitting there going, wow, he kills a lot of people with good teeth, because all the teeth on his face were all white with no plaque whatsoever. And I was sitting there going, wow, okay. And it did kind of throw me off. And me and Marty were watching at the same time, and she even gave a look of like, that's weird, because you're not expecting that right there. The teeth all over the face. The big thing we actually talked about that we loved about this episode was it was very different from the Moffat episode. They're great as standalone episodes in the middle of a season. Like, one of our favorite episodes of all is the Silence in the Library and the Forest of the Dead. Those are great Moffat episodes from Doctor Who. But it seems like when Moffat got in charge, especially in his later years, got in charge of the whole series, you can kind of start picking things apart more and figuring out the plot of the story, the twist that's coming up, or what's going to happen at the end of the season, or know that there's going to be some sort of twist coming up. And it just...
He has a very easy or a very interesting story structure, but it's also a very easy story structure to figure out, to reverse engineer and figure out what's going to happen from that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So by the time you get into the second, let's say third season, as a showrunner, it becomes pretty predictable at that point, and pretty over the top, really, because there's a lot of dumb things that happen in his third season working on it.
Yeah, and that was kind of the joke. I remember, like in the second season, which would have been Matt Smith's second year as a Doctor. I was just like super psyched, and that's when I actually became a super fan of Doctor Who. Was during that run.
I stopped watching towards the middle of David Tennant's run.
Really?
Yeah. I stopped. Wow. I stopped watching. Wasn't it on Netflix for a while?
Yeah, it was. It was.
And after it left Netflix, I didn't pursue it.
It's on Amazon Prime. Is that right?
Yep, it is. That's where I was watching, and it's good. But it's funny. One quick story, Mike. I remember, spoilers if you haven't seen season 7 of Doctor Who, but the whole big thing they set up is that the Doctor is going to die, and the reason why he's going to die is there's supposedly a question that can never be answered, and they set up this whole thing of what is this question? What is this question? And Mike looked at me like a week before and says, "It's got to be Doctor Who." I was like, that's too obvious. And sure enough, that's exactly what it was, because Mike has figured out the formula. We're not going to dare mention anything about Doctor Who at this point until the very end of the literally last line, which I still love the episode. I still enjoy that episode, especially when they do the big reveal. A, the Doctor is alive, and B, the question is actually just still his name, Doctor Who. and that's the oldest question in the universe is Doctor Who. And so I was still on board like crazy. And then Mike's right, the third season it gets somewhat predictable, and it's not until pretty much the Day of the Doctor episode and the Time of the Doctor episodes that I'm like back on board for Moffat, because I'm like, oh, I'm loving these episodes because they're great standalones. Go ahead, Mike.
The thing about him is he's good for like short runs, like, and that's why the BBC Sherlock was so good.
Yeah,
it's because exactly. he could do a 3-episode arc, but once he gets a whole series under his belt, that gets a little rough.
Yeah. I find myself going back and watching season 1 and 2 of Sherlock more than any of the other ones, because again, you start figuring out everything. Like season 3, it's not as good as the first two, because you kind of start figuring out the formula of Moffat. And how
here's a question, Mike. Remember how we were talking about last week how Paul Simon, how he put out that album, the Greatest Hits album, and then put out something new? Doctor Who has been running so long. Is it possible that they're trying not to mess with the formula, or they're trying not to do anything new?
I thought that was the intriguing part about what Moffat had tried to do. Was early on, it seemed like he was toying with the formula. And, once I got into the Day of the Doctor and all that, it seems like they're really teasing, like, you're going to finally find out what his name was, which was, it's been the long mystery since the series began in the 60s. And, of course, he copped out on it. And I think that was the high point of his tenure.
Yeah.
And since then, he's tried to do different things, but very little it's actually worked out, I think.
Your thoughts, Alex?
I've heard Moffat's writing style described as a puzzle box writing style, that you know what it is you want to find inside, but you got to figure out how to get there. And I think the best example of that is the Pandorica Opens. You remember that?
Yes.
Where they have this horrible artifact and there's a horrible monster inside. And they go on. It's a 2-part episode. They go on and they find out the monster inside is the Doctor.
I really got to watch more of this show.
That was a good episode.
And that's one of my favorite episodes of the show.
See, my favorite one, I hate to say, of his show, it's the same season, that shows you how good Moffat was, is the first episode, actually, of when the 11th Hour. Because it literally, and that's the interesting part about this episode, is I felt a little bit of them rehashing out the 11th Hour, just a hair, because, again, it's same thing happens to Matt Smith's Doctor. He gets more or less stranded, not to the extremes that the Jodie's Doctor is, but Matt Smith's Doctor gets kind of stranded, doesn't have a sonic screwdriver, and has to save the world, more or less, is what he has to do, because there's an alien, and it's him being cool, being slick. And there's a wonderful scene that I love the most about it, is at the very end, he defeats the monsters, he stops the aliens who are going to attack the Earth. They are going to fly away, and the Doctor gets pissed and calls them back and scolds them for trying to destroy the Earth, which I love. And then he proceeds to ask the aliens, is this world protected? Who's supposed to protect this world? And they start showing you images. And, of course, the final image that gets you kind of like choked up and excited is they run through all the different people who have been the Doctor, starting with the first one from the 60s all the way up to David Tennant's Doctor. And right then at the end, he walks right through the image of David Tennant, and it's Matt Smith now in full normal Doctor wear with the bow tie and everything, saying, hello, I'm the Doctor. And I just remember watching that going, oh, I'm on board.
Yeah, Matt Smith is also my favorite because of all the silliness, and you know, I often wonder if Matt Smith has some kind of background in like mime performance or clowning or something.
I can see that,
because he's a buffoon, you know, and he's really good at that, and it only further highlights whenever things are serious for him, whenever even the clown gets serious.
Yes.
Well, it really drives it home. You have to build endearment to the character to make the viewer care.
Yep.
To make the viewer actually care what happens to this person.
So circling back around to the episode.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We talked everything but the episode.
Absolutely, absolutely. What do you guys think of the new Doctor?
I loved her.
I did too.
She is funny. She's immediately smart, and you immediately buy in that she is the Doctor. Like the other ones, you could probably even Matt Smith. The whole episode when he is, being the Doctor, sort of. You're not buying it until that last shot, like I said earlier, where he comes walking through the beam and he's fully dressed as the Doctor. But her, as soon as she shows up, as soon as she falls into the train, you immediately buy that A, she's the Doctor, and B, she is a good actor, and that was my big thing with it. Of like, oh, I'm sold already.
Who do you think she was most like?
Yeah, I was going to say she gives me a Matt Smith vibe.
Yeah.
See, she gave me a Christopher Eccleston vibe.
See, yeah.
And I almost went with David Tennant because of her erratic nature. Almost, she kind of drifts off, and then she jumps to one thing and another and another.
Yeah. Yeah.
But her
I could see that
delivery,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But her delivery of her lines reminded me so much of Christopher that I'm kind of in between the two, but
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards Christopher.
I hadn't thought of this before, but yeah, she does kind of remind me of Christopher Eccleston now that I think of it, because it's clear. I mean, we've only seen one episode of this, but it seems like she never really has a plan, and just everything is just play it by ear,
Yeah.
But when she
And
comes
that
up with
was
something,
Eccleston style.
when she comes up with something, she's very deliberate.
Yep.
And Eccleston was like that. He was very, I'm the Doctor, bow to me.
Yeah.
I've got this figured out. Everybody get behind me.
His style was a little more of an arrogance compared to the following Doctors.
No, but I do see what you're saying. Eccleston didn't seem that. You're right. Eccleston didn't seem to have a huge plan. He just reacted to every one of the stories.
Yeah.
And even the final one where he's in it, they're like, "Do you have a plan?" And his response is no. And that scares you, doesn't it? And Tennant, same kind of thing. He could figure out everything in a heartbeat. Capaldi, I don't know. It was half and half with him. But yeah, I see what you're talking about.
So who was everybody's first Doctor?
I would say Eccleston, but I really didn't start paying attention until Tennant got into it.
There was one Doctor that I was all in on. And after they changed him, I stopped watching. Not until Eccleston came into the show. Then I watched that for a little bit and then stopped with Tennant. Tom Baker. Loved the Tom Baker Doctor Who. He was so good.
That's a throwback.
Oh, I love that show. And that was when it was competing with, for me anyway, it was when it was competing with Next Generation.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, the reruns were strong at that point. By the time Next Gen came out, he was actually, I think, 1 year. He only had 1 year of him, and then they switched it to the Fifth Doctor at that point.
Yeah, but on PBS, they rerun that for
ever
10 years.
Yeah,
they still rerun him every once in a while.
Yeah, they even have even on BBC America, they have a Morning with Tom Baker, and they, as a joke, they run a Tom Baker Doctor Who episode like on a Saturday morning. So when you're getting up, you can watch Doctor Who like you did as a kid and stuff. But no, I agree. I see, and Tom Baker's a good one, and I've went back and revisited those, and I see the appeal. I can give you both. You want my favorite new Doctor and my favorite classic Doctor?
Sure.
New Doctor, Mike brought me on board when we watched Blink. That was the initiation, if you will, of me into Doctor Who. And I remember just being blown away. Not so much, it wasn't even the Weeping Angels, because the Weeping Angels didn't really. I mean, that was a cool villain, and I liked what they did.
Weeping Angels.
Yes.
But what gives me the creeps every time I think about them.
But what actually sold me so much so that I was like, well, I can't wait to see what happens with this story, was the whole Easter egg DVD portion. That there's a conversation that David Tennant's having with a girl literally 40 years apart in time, where they're just talking back and forth, and it's because the one guy in the room happened to be writing down everything. that they're able to have the conversation. I remember just my mind was blown at that. So, but no, my favorite new Doctor though, the afterwards, and it's probably the classic of who you used to watch, the first Doctor on a weekly basis, and for me it was Matt Smith. That was my big new Who Doctor that I loved.
I would like to get you guys' opinion, being harder core Doctor Who fans than myself. The bleakness of the episode.
I think that's mainly because it was mostly contained to a night event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those tend to have a little more bleakness to them if you don't have the comedy aspect.
And I think they were also say this is a whole different showrunner. I mean, this is a whole different show. Even the shots and everything look very different from what you've been used to. In fact, it felt like I was watching like instead of a TV show, like a TV movie almost, because you're like, oh wow, they're out and like that one shot of the family just hanging out on top of a mountainside looking down at the town.
Yeah.
My first thought was, why are you practicing riding a bike on top of a mountain like that when you can clearly die easily? And then two, I was like, that is very different type of shot for Doctor Who. I've never seen something like that.
Well,
usually
the effects quality.
Yeah.
Like when he's down in the valley getting his bike,
mm-hmm.
the what is it? The square, the triangles that turns in the square. Yeah, you wouldn't see that, and even Tenon error.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem to be, and maybe this is a first episode sort of thing. It looks like they really hit the budget hard in this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The costume design, the set design, all of the effects seem much higher budget than often what we see from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's because they were trying to get past the aspect of this is a female doctor, so they're pulling out all the stops?
I think they knew, regardless of whether people liked it or not, they were going to check out this first episode at least to see what it was going to be like, and so they knew they're going to have the increased ad revenue from that.
I feel like it was money well spent, in my opinion.
I would agree.
And they're definitely trying to pull in a new audience, people that were put off from previous seasons, and people that just kind of have a hard time getting into this long-running show.
Yeah,
they want to bring in a new audience, so they want to bust the budget on this new season. At the same time, I people that I've talked to about it, one of the things that I think puts some people off from Doctor Who is it's corny. It's a corny old show that they made into a corny new show.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why we didn't have too much corniness in that first episode.
And for longtime fans, we're all okay with that. The corniness is sometimes the best part. It's a show that doesn't take itself seriously. They have these weird rubber monsters every week, and it's corny as heck. And
actually, truthfully,
I like
that's
it.
one of the reasons why I prefer Dragon Ball to half of the other animes out there, because it's action and super goofy.
And nobody is saying this is a serious show. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's funny because after we got done watching it on Sunday, Mike and Tracy left our house, and then I looked at Martha, who, by the way, is not a Who fan at all. This is maybe her third or fourth episode she's ever seen, and the only other episode she's seen beside this was the one Blink from Tenants, and a couple of Capaldi episodes. That is it. And so the joke, she looked at me midway through. She goes, well, let me get this right. So they have high special effects, but and this is her feeling like this. She goes, but they choose to be corny still. And I said to her, I was like, what are you talking about? That wasn't corny. She goes, there was a huge, looked like blue Hershey Kiss in the middle of this forest that someone barely put together. Right. And that's the best they can do. And I was like, well, that's just the formula of the show right there. That you just got to like the fact. She goes, yeah, I get it. But you pretty much have to, you love the corniness you love the bad special effects. And I said to her, well, I don't think that's bad.
Actually, I can kind of see her point, because they were going for a new tone in this show, and they were almost doing something that went against the grain, something that went against the tone that they were trying to present.
We can't sell everybody on it.
Exactly. She's a huge Star Trek fan, so I still love her for that. So that's fine.
So, final remarks about the episode.
Do we have to do it in one word?
No.
Huh.
Final remarks, not remark.
My take on the whole episode, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did find it lacking certain things. And here's the thing, but you start off in the episode and they slowly start giving you all the things you want. When this episode starts, you don't have the Doctor at all. You're pretty much watching this guy trying to ride a bike. Very different from any Star Trek, or not Star Trek, but Doctor Who opener I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of goes into, they run into the alien, all this kind of stuff. And it's not until you get to the train when everyone's just kind of sitting there, you're like, where's the Doctor? Where's the Doctor? And bam, the Doctor shows up. So you get the Doctor. And not only do you get the Doctor, you get the Doctor in spades. She's, witty, she's funny, she's immediately making jokes, she's doing all that kind of stuff. And then, another 30 minutes go by, and bam, you finally get the her sonic screwdriver now, which she makes out of spoons, which is hilarious. And it keeps on going where she outsmarts the alien and all that stuff, to where they leave you sort of on a cliffhanger of her now looking for her TARDIS. And that's the part I was like, oh, man. Because I want to see what the new TARDIS looks like. I want to see what they've done different with the TARDIS and everything. And they purposely, for the more diehard fans, don't show you that at all.
Do you think that the TARDIS is going to be vastly different?
Yeah, I do.
I think so too. Given where they finish in that episode, I feel like the TARDIS will have to be nearby.
Yeah,
I hope so. Or they're going to find a ship.
It's going to be a short episode.
Oh, yeah. It's like, and they're... All right, folks, that's the end of the season.
Frozen Dead in Space, that's the title of the episode? What's that mean?
Oh, you thought we were going to get you.
I'm sure the cliffhanger, the Heart of Gold, piloted by Zaphod Beeblebrox, is going to come in and rescue him. That's my prediction. No. Seriously. Jodie Whittaker absolutely kills it as the Doctor, and just the same. Previous actors, I feel like I haven't been completely sold on how much they are the Doctor. I didn't love Matt Smith at first. I came to love him at first, and to be honest, even David Tennant. I started with Eccleston, and I didn't believe he was the Doctor at first either. But Jodie Whittaker absolutely kills it. She sells me from the moment she appeared on screen. This is the new Doctor, and I'm looking forward to it.
I will mirror that. I think she was strong from the get-go. The episode itself feels incomplete because you don't have the TARDIS aspect in there yet.
Yeah.
But I like what they did because it keeps me wanting to come back and watch the next episode. So I'm here for it.
Cool. So remember how I said last week that I wanted to do a segment every week about a bit of geek trivia. I came up with one for this week for this episode. Which Doctor was in more episodes than any other Doctor?
It's got to be the fourth Doctor because he's got the longest run.
That was going to be my guess as well.
Tom Baker. Sorry, go
Alex, you want to try?
I really wouldn't know, but I would strongly guess that it would be a classic Doctor because it was a different show back then.
The source I'm looking at,
Mm-hmm.
it breaks it down. So the old Doctors was Tom Baker, and the new Doctors is Dave Tennant. Okay, so also I want to mention from last week we had a question: heroes that were both DC and Marvel.
Right.
The gentleman that sent me that question, Larry Lawrence, he messaged me this week, and he was a little angry with me. And the reason why he was angry was there was a reason why he wanted us to ask that question. Because it was a Venom episode. We didn't list Tom Hardy.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
We had a bait and Venom. Oh, man. That's very true.
I was thinking it, but I was like, oh, well, I don't have to mention it because... No, We should have mentioned it. So
That's too funny.
I apologize, Larry, to our one and only fan.
So just to clarify, what Marvel thing was he in? Or no, DC Comics thing.
He was Bane.
Bane, Dark Knight Rises.
There you go.
Before Mike checks out mentally,
Too late.
do you want to give us a quick Littlefoot?
Oh yes, Littlefoot. Actually, it's Smallfoot, but
yeah.
I got that mixed up quite a bit as well.
I'm thinking of Land Before Time.
My daughter went on a class field trip to the movie theater, and that was the movie we saw last week instead of Venom. And it was surprisingly good. Like I saw the promotional materials for it, and I just thought, well, it's like Hotel Transylvania, but on the mountain.
But I liked that. That was a good movie.
Yeah, but
are you saying that Hotel Transylvania is not wonderful?
No, I like the first one. I did not like the third one though.
Oh, really? I didn't see the third one. I didn't see.
We saw it at the drive-in.
I like the second one.
But I liked Hotel Transylvania, but I thought I didn't really want a retread that was Yeti based.
You want to know one of the reasons why Hotel Transylvania is so good? It's directed by Jedi Kardakovsky, the same guy that directs Dexter's Laboratory
and Samurai Jack.
And Samurai Jack, yeah.
Which artistically I think is a better.
Or you can say the original Star Wars Clone Wars from 2003. But go ahead, sir.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
But Smallfoot was good. It was its own movie, and it has some surprising messages about not just believing something because that's what you were told, actually going out and discovering the truth for yourself.
Oh,
which was a message I did not expect to see in this movie, and it played it up pretty hard. And the voice cast was good. There was musical numbers in it, which I did not expect.
Really?
And Common, the R&B artist, does the voice of the Chief. And after a couple songs in, I thought, they're going to do like a rap, like Hamiltonian style, like number explaining what his motivations are. And sure enough, they did, and it was pretty. it was the best number in the movie.
No, well, that's worth it then.
It was surprisingly good. I was surprised. I wasn't going in expecting to enjoy it, but I really did.
Those are the best kids movies, though.
Yeah.
The ones that you think you're gonna have to check out mentally.
The kids enjoyed the slapstick, and you enjoy the underlying message that was put there just for you.
If a movie is really good, it can be enjoyed by people of all ages. And I think a lot of the Disney Pixar movies are good with that. Sure, it's for kids, but anybody can watch and enjoy this.
Exactly. And this wasn't quite on the Pixar level, but it was upper tier of what you. It was better than any Minions movie or just.
Was it a Zootopia quality?
It was a Zootopia level.
Okay. Really? Wow.
In terms of the way the story is told, I mean, visual quality wise, the one thing I did hate was I don't like the visual style of the Yetis. I thought they were kind of ridiculous, and that was what kind of turned me off to it in the marketing materials, because just looking at them, they look stupid.
And we watched Bolt the other day, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'd rather watch Pixar. Let's put Pixar on, please."
That was back in Disney's early days of CGI, and they hadn't quite hit their stride yet.
Exactly.
Well, that's because they still had one toe in the animation.
Yes.
In actual hand-drawn.
And I don't know what they did, but Tangled was where they really broke out of that, and they must have upgraded their equipment or something, because the budget for that was like $290 million or something ridiculous. That no other CGI movie has ever come close to being.
Well, so they had to go for broke.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think they had to go into the upgrading all the software and everything.
Yeah.
Because the quality got a lot better at that point too.
And then we get Frozen.
Yeah, they let it go. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
That's good.
Pocket.
But they've been on fire ever since that, and good for them.
So, did we finish Little?
I guess.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Actually, on the geek scale, what would you rate this movie on?
We're talking about Smallfoot again?
Yes.
On the geek scale, probably a 5.
Can you convert that to letters?
FIVE.
Okay, we'll stay with that. We'll stay with that. That is totally staying in the episode. Totally going
As
in
it
there.
should.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Stick with that. That's no other justification needed.
Yeah.
That's good enough. Speaking of CGI, and since we're on the topic of Disney, did you guys see the news of the next adaptation movie that's coming out?
Yeah, I just saw the poster just as we were talking, actually.
Yeah.
Is this Aladdin?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not see the poster nor my. Yeah, I'm super worried.
Yeah, tell me about this. I just saw the. What is it?
It's a live action retelling of Aladdin, and I am not excited at all.
Yeah, because isn't the genie Will Smith?
The genie is Will Smith. I mean, okay.
See, that
I like
and
Will
I like
Smith.
Will Smith. Yeah, exactly. That's me too. But I don't see him being a genie.
Truthfully, and I know that he's kind of a pariah right now, but you know who I'd like to see as the genie? TJ
TJ Miller.
TJ Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.
I just and I hate to be.
Let me interject one more. What about Aziz? Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, I could see him being a genie, and I'd be fine with that. Actually,
Isn't he a prior right now too, though?
Is he?
Yeah, I'll tell you, nobody can follow up Robin Williams. Obviously, nobody is ever going to be Robin Williams.
And that's
if they did actually introduce TJ Miller, I think I would still be in the same place. You're absolutely right, Alex.
But I'll tell you, I don't think I fully object to Will Smith being the genie. He's got a great voice. He's got a great personality. I don't know. I think I'm okay with that.
I tend to never question casting decisions because I can't see what they see at that period of time. So I always trust them until I see the finished product, and I don't have a reason not to trust them.
I used to have more of a harsh judgment on casting until Heath Ledger.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good point.
When you watch The Dark Knight Rises, regardless of who you are locked in. My dad, who hates all those kind of things, I put on The Dark Knight and did not tell him it was a Batman movie. And because if you remember, that movie starts off all Joker.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize this was actually Batman, even with the whole Joker part popping up and all that stuff, until Batman showed up. And then he looked at me going, "This is a Batman movie." And I go, "Yeah, it's Batman." And then he
Whatever
still stuck it
doesn't
out.
kill you makes you stranger.
That's a movie that no matter when it comes on, you will always watch it all the way to the end.
Yep.
You know,
Let's start with a magic trick.
that particular scene.
It's
I
gone. It's gone.
I watched that movie with my dad too, and as soon as the Joker came on the screen, I remember him saying, "Oh, I remember this guy," which he's talking about like the '60s Bat. That was '60s, right, or was it '70s?
In the '60s.
60s.
Yeah, the old Batman, and he's, "Oh, I remember this guy, the Joker. Yeah, he used to be a clown, and he played with balloons and stuff." And then he says, "Watch as I disappear this pin." Well, pow! And he slams it into his eyeball.
He's like, "What the hell?"
And yeah, my dad's reaction, like, "Oh shit, this is a different Batman."
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Good old Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
That is my biggest problem with DC's extended universe. They should have just kept their movies going off of Christopher Nolan's movies and just more or less continue. Even if they recast Batman, they still, they still refer back to those events or do whatever they can. And
They
make
totally
that part
could have too. They left it
so
open.
much missed
Would love it.
potential.
Yep. And I know that the argument would be, well, how do you change the ending of The Dark Knight Rises? Because at the end, pretty much he fakes his own death and retires, and Robin takes over all this kind of stuff. And my answer is simple: kill Robin. or kill that Robin, or however you want to
No, there's
say it.
there's a really good segue for that.
Yeah.
The
What's that?
Titans, the Titan story.
Exactly. You could do the Titans, whichever.
Oh God, have you guys seen the new stills from?
No, oh my God.
So I go to a lot of cosplay events, and I got to tell you, from what I'm seeing from these production stills, if I were to see those cosplays, those costumes at a
I know where
cosplay
you're
convention,
going.
I would make fun of them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bad. Like, yeah, that's bad cosplay. And
Do you
this
guys
is a
see his
production movie.
icon?
Yeah. No, I'm a wizard. You guys know that I'm a part-time wizard. I hope you know. Um, but yeah, if I were to see those costumes at a cosplay convention, I would probably have a laugh at them. I can't believe how bad they look. And the heck of it is, I really want DC to do good things.
Exactly.
Because Teen Titans could be DC's Avengers.
Yeah. To our listeners, if
Okay.
you enjoy listening to us, ask us any questions. You can go ahead and send those to randomwvgeek@gmail.com. Again, that's randomwvgeek@gmail.com. You can also send us a text to 304-566-9777. Again, that's 304-566-9777.
Wait, do you have West Virginia number now?
Yeah. All right.
Welcome to the end, everybody.
Welcome to the end.
Welcome to the end.
Welcome to the end.
Oh, that's the one we're going to use.